Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar brought to you by Trintech and Controllers Council. My name is Kelly Shedlin and I'll be your host for today. The title of today's webinar is Streamline Your Financial Close with Powerful Integrations. Before we get started, there are a couple pieces of housekeeping I'd like to go over. Firstly, please note that the lines are on mute to cut down on any background noise. However, you can send through any questions or comments as we go along through the webinar today through the chat or Q&A functionalities on the right-hand side of your screen. In addition, we are recording today's webinar session and we will send out an email after the event with a copy of the recording in case you'd like to view it again later. And with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers for today, Michael and Dina from Trintech, who will take us through today's presentation. Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Kelly, and welcome everybody. Like Kelly said, my name is Michael Uhr. I'm Director of Product Management at Trintech. And I've been with the Trintech and Adra family now for just about 7 years. Started my career as an accountant at IBM, doing income and expense, intercompany accounting, and was kind of questioning, hey, isn't there a better way of pulling out this data from DB2 tables, doing matching, doing reconciliations? It led me down a path into finance IT, helping the business solve some of those challenges through automation, and then ultimately to Trintech, now back helping solve some of these challenges for our accounting partners around the world. And with that, Dina, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today as well.
Thanks, Michael. I'm Dina Deary, and as Michael mentioned, partners, that's the word for me. I have a background in implementation of ERP and other accounting softwares and manage our channel partner relationships. So I'm all about connecting resources to make sure our customers have integrated solutions and Adra seamlessly working with their existing tech stack.
All right, thank you. So with that, we'll start with our agenda for today. Now we're going to start with, and from the product management background, a lot of the times we're asking the question of why. Why is something challenging in the market? How can we help within there? How can we help streamline things? We're going to start with why. Like why consider financial close automation? Why is this important? We're then going to move into challenges within your current close cycle. How can you help identify some of those challenges? If you haven't thought about that in the past, maybe this will give you some ideas on what to look for within your close cycle today. We'll then go one step further and look at how Adra and Trintech work with dynamics and even work with, as you're thinking about migrating to and working through different versions of Microsoft in the near future, how can we help enable part of that journey for you? And lastly, we'll close with ROI, looking at potential returns on your investment. And I always think about this as we're standing on the shores of giants. Truly, there's folks and organizations who have come before us that we can look at and say, hey, what did they do right? What are some of the things that they got out of automation? And we can look at some of those ROI benefits. And last, we'll close with next steps and call to actions that we can then take away and take back to our organizations. So we'll start with why. Why are we here? Why are we here as an organization? What are we trying to achieve as a finance and accounting organization? And if we boil that down just to its essence, we are trying to produce reliable financial statements quickly, effectively, efficiently, at as low cost and as low risk as possible. That's what we're here to do. Now, how we go about achieving that, we have a lot of different ways of doing that. We'll talk through different automation mechanisms we can get to in the future. But the why, if you boil everything we try to do from close to planning to consolidation, is getting down to producing reliable financial statements as quickly as we can so that we know, hey, the account and the value we're looking at on a report has been substantiated and attested by our processes and been signed off throughout that entire process. And we're doing that in the most cost-effective and introducing the least amount of risk into our process and organizations. So it's kind of nice as an anchor point, Dina, as you then get to the next piece here.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So, big question. Do you have meetings to plan meetings about your close? There may be a few things that help you notice that you can create a more streamlined financial close process. So do you have spreadsheets that are part of the challenge? Are you trying to email spreadsheets? Do you have versioning issues with spreadsheets? As you think about what you're doing today in your financial close, we want to help identify the areas of the process itself that are bogging down, and then areas for improvement for automation and how we can actually help improve that. And don't forget about your auditors. Hopefully you all have nice, fun audits. I'm being completely sarcastic, but the audit perception is also part of the equation. So do you have audit findings? Are you having trouble getting information to your auditors? Making sure that as you're thinking about your current processes and where things bog down, Also thinking about your other stakeholders, reporting needs and audit needs, and making sure that we're incorporating all of those into our health assessment on how our close is actually going. Are you still stuck in spreadsheets? Rest assured, that is the top concern we hear from most of our customers, that we're drowning in spreadsheets, we have versioning issues, we have lookup tables, we're trying to figure out how to do something in a pivot table. We're trying to do transaction matching in a spreadsheet for a three-way match. How could you possibly match on a bank reconciliation, a bank statement, point of sale or AR, and merchant processing if you have e-commerce? So thinking about the lack of transparency that you have if you're doing a reconciliation in a spreadsheet, and the fact that it's not scalable as your business grows. And for those of you during COVID who are doing online retail, maybe you picked up some delivery services, or maybe you had to shift a good portion of your in-person business to the web. Think about how that struggle to scale those reconciliations and get that close information as quickly as possible, or even something as simple as a daily cash balance. If that's a dream for you and you can't get there because of the process, we're here to tell you there are other ways to automate that and help you streamline and eliminate some of those bottlenecks and dependencies. Or maybe you're here today because you don't have a high level of trust in your financial statements. Maybe you have your close down, or as we hear a lot, we have a soft close in 3 or 4 days after the end of the month. But in reality, we come back and we look at exceptions, and our real close is closer to 10 to 15 days. Again, rest assured you're not alone. We hear that a lot. There is a way to streamline that close and make sure you have complete confidence in the numbers as you're going through the process, and oversight and visibility. So we're not using a spreadsheet and emailing it around the office, or in the old days, and hopefully some of you are returning to the office, over the cubicle conversation, or one of my favorite stories from 2020 was Post-it notes or a dry erase board. How do you translate that to a remote working environment? So all of that being based in spreadsheets, we need a tool that pulls all that information together and streamlines it.